But now, quite honestly, we just have the greatest surprise, in my opinion, of internet sports talk history, and that is the Chronicle. James, if you would.
I'm going to give I was on a stand-up comedy kick, and I'll kind of explain why after the graphic goes up and Mike loses his shit, as he typically does. But I'm going to give full
Boy.
credit uh, to a former member of the Alan Cox show, and that would be one Mr. William Squire.
Anything with the Alan Cox show, though, James, is quality entertainment.
But
So,
this is apropos considering how many friggin' dating apps I've been on lately, and that's part of my goal for next week is to get some sort of date lined up for next week. I
so James, we're going to go to the NHL tonight for your first name, and I'm going to preface it by saying it is not a player, but your first name in tonight's Wisey translator is first row seat stealer, Adam Copeland.
I mean, it's nice to see what he's doing with his time with his, his little break, especially kind of coming back off of his injury. But yeah, he was at WrestleMania and Skydome for Hogan versus Warrior, and now he's there for this. You might want to extend that summer break a little bit longer, Cope. Um, considering because when you come back, you're gonna have to deal with the whole FTR turning on you thing, and eventually we know this is going to lead to him and Christian finally coming back together. Um, but yeah, you might want to think of a little bit better thing to do on your Sunday night, and certainly maybe not sit front row because now you got the longer walk to get out of the arena when the Leafs eventually choke in the playoffs like they just did again.
It's exactly where I thought you'd go with it, by the way. Slav,
Michael,
speak for me.
Your first name in the Wisey translator tonight is is kind of in your wheelhouse, but I where you threw me a curveball and didn't go with the entity. Um, we're gonna go a little off the board. It's not a team that you necessarily follow, but it's a team that made a lot of noise here in the last couple of weeks, and that would be the Minnesota Twins.
Well, 13 straight wins will do that. Um, but let me give you the Cleveland answer. The other shoe's going to drop.
The
The
fact
other
that
shoe's going to drop.
the fact that they rattle off 13 straight wins and Detroit is playing such fantastic baseball that they are still 4 games out in that division.
That tells you how horrible they were at the beginning of the year. And a big 13-game winning streak will get you back in it. I was more impressed with the final 34 innings before today. They didn't give up a run. Well,
Right.
so James, I'm going to finish tonight with you with a name that we also discussed earlier and you waxed poetic about, but I'm going to go there again. I want to hear some more about him. But Jim, your name, the second name and final name for you in the YZ translator is PGA champion Scottie Scheffler.
Far and away, I think the classiest player on tour. Um, and I want to say if it wasn't for Rory completely breaking down, to be able to see Scotty break down and then just let loose with a primal yell in front of the gallery after tapping in on 18, and just all the announcers, saying when he was up eight, I'm sorry, when he was up by six, and he rolls in for for a bogey six on 18, that he just won by five. Um, the way that Scotty has the ability to kind of smell blood in the water and doesn't falter. Um, it's not the Tiger syndrome to where he's out, where he's intimidating everyone else. Whereas Tiger would go out on Sunday and not necessarily blow the field away, but the field would fall away. Scottie is different, and this is what I think makes him the best player in the world, and deservedly so, to where he's been at or near the top of the world golf rankings for the last 2.5 years. Is Scottie, when he gets adversity, rises to the occasion and starts playing with these guys, as opposed to if he falls back, he's got that gear to be able to get back out in front even if others are playing great around him. Tiger was always the intimidation factor that if Tiger started to fall off, guys would never be able to capitalize on that. Scotty has that extra gear.
He does. I agree with you 100%. He has been amazing over the last couple of years. Probably would have won more majors had he not dealt with, a birth of a child, the whole arrest thing. So yeah, he's been really, really good over the last couple of years. Here, what do you say?
Michael, your second and final name, we're going to go back to the diamond here. And whereas we talked about the highest of the highs with the Twins right now, we're going to go to some of the lower of the low. And we're going to talk about, I want to get your take on recently broken off Baltimore Orioles skipper Brandon Hyde.
I'll take scapegoat for 500, Alex. That front office did nothing to help him. You lose and trade away some of your biggest pitching that you have, and you fix it with Charlie Morton, who's 106. You have to expect inconsistent play from young players. If you don't expect inconsistent play for young players, you're doing not only those players a disservice, but you're doing your franchise a disservice. That is why the teams that win that have young cores have veteran leadership on that team. The Orioles don't have that because the guys who are considered the leaders right now, the Gunnar Hendersons, Adley Rutschman, they're young kids. You don't have a veteran presence a la. All right, I'm going to play a little homer here. The 2015 Mets were very young, but they had Curtis Granderson and they had Bartolo Colon and they had role players like a John Meese who had been with the Mets for a long time. Same thing with Daniel Murphy. So you had guys who had been through, and they had David Wright. You've been through the wars and been there for years. Baltimore really doesn't have that. I don't consider Santander that type of player. I think Cedric Mullins is still lumped in with those young players. And bringing in Charlie Morton to do it, you need somebody who's been there for a couple of years. You don't have that.